Hello everyone. I thought I would do a follow-up video to the video about why I don't have any friends, just to clear some things up and some misconceptions and that some people seem to be having. Now, if you want context, you may need to go back and watch part one before you watch part two. But some people have been getting the impression that I do live in a rural area, but that can be, it depends on your definition of rural, because it can mean different things depending on it. Like, it may seem like from the environment around me that I must live hours away from civilization. I don't. I mean, in that regard, I mean, I don't live in a major city, but I'm Walmart is about 12 minutes away, and I think I heard someone say one time that if you're within half an hour of a Walmart, you can't be that rural. I know some people who have to drive over an hour just to get to a Walmart, and no one has experienced the true definition of rural until they have gone through a state like Wyoming or Montana or Kansas. Even in states like that, you can drive sometimes 4 hours without even seeing a gas station. And so when I drive through states like that, I'm thinking, well, if I don't like where I live, at least I'm not here. At least I'm not in Montana or Kansas. There's a reason why Dorothy wanted to get away from Kansas, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult anyone from Kansas, but the Kansas, the state is very flat and uninteresting to look at, unlike here. But again, I don't mean any offense if you're from Kansas. But but anyway, but I do live in what you might call I'm near a small town, but I'm within about, though, an hour to an hour and a half of most major services. I live in Grayson, what you might call Grayson County, Kentucky, which is the closest town is Litchfield, Kentucky, where I grew up. I often will go to some bigger towns, though, like love to go shopping and movies and such, like Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and Owensboro, Kentucky. And Elizabethtown, if any of you have seen the movie, the Cameron Crowe movie Elizabethtown with Orlando Bloom, well, that's where that movie was in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Even though only a few scenes were actually shot there, a lot of it was filmed around the Lexington area. Um, but anyway, of course, Elizabethtown is where is near Fort Knox, where they keep the gold or whatever. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off track here. But it's not that. But it's not that there are. But it's not that there aren't people around me in Kentucky, or people locally who are writers or who are like me. Like, I'm part of a Facebook writer group, where a Kentucky writer group where there are local authors, and I post there occasionally, but not a lot. And so there are. It's not that there aren't like-minded people around me. It's that there aren't physical spaces or ways for us to get together. That's the difficulty. It's not that there's no people around me. It's that the people who are like me, there aren't ways for us to connect. That's the problem. It's not that there aren't people. There are people. It's just that there aren't ways for us to connect. There aren't establishments. There aren't events for us to connect physically. It's all online. There are ways to connect online, but but when it comes to connecting, physically talking to each other, that's the issue. Um, it's not that there aren't people. There are people. It's just that there aren't ways for us to connect. And now some people have suggested, well, a solution would be moving. Well, first of all, I don't like it when people suggest that, like, I've never thought of it before. Of course, I've thought of it before. The problem with that, though, is that, for one, I couldn't afford to move even if I wanted to. And I can't even afford to have my own home here, let alone somewhere else. When you're a struggling writer financially, you can't afford to move around. And so that option isn't on the table, even if I wanted it to be one. And secondly, I'm not sure I would want to move to the city permanently. There is a part of me that would like to travel abroad for, let's say, a year or two. Or if I were very rich, I may have like I would want to have like a penthouse in a city, maybe in like London or New York or something, where I stay a few months out of the year. Um, but I don't think I would ever want to move to a city permanently, because country living has helped my mental health in a very profound way. I didn't always live in the country per se. I used to live in this somewhat, it wasn't exactly a suburb, but it was like a suburb, where a suburb area where all the houses were boxed in together. They used to call it Box Town. That was the name. I mean, that was the nickname. It wasn't the actual name. But I lived in a house there, which was, it was a pretty big house, bigger than the house that I have now. Very spacious. And my grandparents, who lived next door, also had a house like that. They were the biggest houses in the neighborhood. And even though my bedroom was quite small, I have a bigger bedroom now. But the house itself was much bigger than the house that I live in now. But even though the house was spacious, I couldn't go anywhere outside because all the houses were boxed in together. I mean, it got to the point where the shadows of the houses would sometimes block out, almost block out the sun. So sometimes I couldn't actually get any direct sunlight. And ever since I've moved to the country, my mental health has improved immensely. I love being out in nature. It Because when I see the beauty of nature, that inspires me as a writer. And I don't think I would get that as much if I lived in a city permanently. And I also have some land out here that I'm own or am going to own, that I would love to build a house on someday, if I could ever afford it, which seems doubtful. But anyway, I I actually like country living. I enjoy country living, and I do think that the country is a really good place to raise a family. It's just not so great when it comes to starting a family, because it's finding the people that you want to start the family with. That's the problem. Once you have the family, you can raise it, but it's starting the family that can be the issue. And but no, I like city life, and I like visiting cities, but I'm not sure I would want to live in a city permanently, even if I could afford to, which I can't. And so and so that's not really a solution to my problem. And do I know what the solution is? I don't. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in. But I don't live in an area that's that rural. Depends on your definition. But I would say that there are a lot of even there are a lot of, like, even what you might call medium-sized cities that don't have ways for people to get to. It's not just rural areas. This problem isn't confined just to rural areas. Even some cities have this problem. It's only like what you might call like the major metropolitan areas, like Los Angeles and New York, and areas like that that have that have options for people, like-minded people, to meet. There are a lot of what you might call mid-level cities, that have, let's say, a population of 500,000, 600,000, where people also struggle to meet and get together. And so this isn't a problem that's confined to rural areas. It might be greater of a problem, but it's not. This problem isn't exclusively a rural area problem. And so I just wanted to clear that up, because there's been some confusion on that issue.